Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Oh, thank you. It is always an honor, always an honor. This is such an exciting time for us in Arlington County, particularly those of us that are the Human Rights Commissioners, as well as the board and the county manager, and this year the public school system, all celebrating some truly outstanding, wonderful things. James B. Hunter, as many of you know, is the person for whom we are presenting these awards. It focuses on sustained commitment. It focuses on doing things that are right for right reasons. It focuses on trying to make the world a better place, not just for you, but for those that are within the various spheres around which we are. It also recognizes the anniversary of the Universal Human Rights Declaration, which actually started in December 10, 1948, with a proclamation from the UN General Assembly. Again, human rights, people, community, what we do, how we do it, all of those things being a very important part of who we are and what we do. I had the pleasure of asking those members that served on our nominating committee why we ended up with what we ended up with. And a lot of what they told me will probably be shared with you tonight. But one of the most critical things that I really enjoyed hearing about that is that we have so many young people that have so impressively done things that focused on how we can be better at what we do. And we have wonderful individuals who have served in so many ways, little ways, small ways, great ways, continuing ways in the community among all of us. And we've all, again, been the better for it. But our presenters will take care of that. We also are honored to have a wonderful keynote speaker with us this evening. She will be introduced also by one of our commissioners, but our formal welcome, we will invite up now our chair of our Arlington County Board, Mary Hines. Welcome.
Well, welcome to the County Boardroom. It is so wonderful to see so many people here tonight to honor and celebrate people who make a difference in our community. Whatever has brought you here tonight, the way that you have worked in our community to make people feel welcome, to include them into the life of our community has been just amazing and terrific. And on behalf of my colleagues, some of whom will be joining as the evening progresses, it is actually a busy night in Arlington. There are a lot of things going on. But on behalf of my colleagues, I want to say to each of you who will be honored, thank you for the work that you've done. And for those of you who came because you support the people who will be honored or you care about the people who will be honored, thank you for giving that care and support so that they could stand up and do the work that was really important. So without further ado, let me turn it back to Kitty, because I think the most important thing is for us to hear our speaker and to hear the stories that we're here tonight to honor. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Mary. At this time, I'd like to invite Commissioner Diane Mull to come. She will introduce our keynote speaker. Diane.
I first would like to I think I have the first opportunity or second opportunity, thank all of you for coming tonight. How much we appreciate your coming out and supporting others who have been awarded, but also supporting the concept of promoting human rights. Also, I would like to add my congratulations to all of the awardees. You are following in line with a lot of prestigious and really meaningful work that has been done, and we look forward to much more that you'll contribute in the future. It is very reassuring for me to be able to see that the future generations will be carrying on and promoting and advocating for human rights. And I think you will hear when you learn about our keynote speaker's background, that she started out as a very young person as an activist like many of you. And this has led to a very prestigious career of advocating for human rights, and in particular disability rights. So I think that you will agree that many of the greatest human rights leaders actually started out as young people like yourselves. And they, in turn, have led a life of contribution and promoting human rights on many different and varied subjects. Well, tonight I have the distinct honor of introducing our keynote speaker this evening, Judith Heuman. Judy, as I know her, is an internationally recognized leader in the disability community and a lifelong civil rights advocate for disadvantaged people. Currently, she is serving as the Special Advisor for the International Disability Rights at the U.S. Department of State. Prior to that, she was the Director of the Department of Disability Services in the District of Columbia, and as the World Bank's first advisor on disability and development. In this position, she was the lead consultant to the Global Partnership for Disability and Development. During the Clinton administration, Judy served as an Assistant Secretary for the Office of Special Education and Rehabilitative Services in the Department of Education. In this capacity, she was responsible for the implementation of legislation at the national domestic level for programs in special education, disability research, vocational rehabilitation, and independent living, serving more than 8 million youth and adults with disabilities, including youth and adults right here in Arlington County. For more than 30 years, Judy has been involved on the national and international front working on disability, working with disabled people's organizations in the U.S. and around the world. She's worked with governments and helping them to organize and establish human rights and advance human rights for disabled people. The name of the film, Judy, that just came out, Lives Worth Living. If you haven't seen that, it should be coming out on PBS pretty soon again. Okay, Independent Lens. It's a wonderful film to understand over the years, decades actually, the work that has gone on in promoting disability rights. And Judy is featured in that film, and you'll get to hear her talk and see her as a young lady and as she's moved forward. Judy has done so much. I could be here for a half hour, so I'm going to cut it short and just say that she too has been honored with the Henry B. Betts Award in recognition of efforts to significantly improve the quality of life for people with disabilities. She has graduated from Berkeley, which I think has started her advocacy career in activism. She has, in her spare time, she has co-founded independent living centers in California, and she has 3 honorary doctorates from 3 different universities. This is an amazing woman. So please join me in welcoming her as our keynote speaker, Judith Heuman.
Thank you very much. When I got this call asking me to speak tonight, I was actually very honored because Arlington, while I don't live in Arlington, I live in DC. Arlington has always been a community that I have seen as an example for inclusion. I'd like to thank Kitty and Mary and Diane for all of the work that you do on the Human Rights Commission and in the development of the awards tonight. And I would very much like to thank all of you who are receiving these awards. Having read about the reason why these awards are being given, I think you all need to feel very proud. And I think the committee itself did a very nice job of really selecting 4 different categories that really show the breadth of the work that's going on in Arlington. So the Wakefield High School project, Upstanders, Fighting Against Bullying, is a very important issue. I think many of us in the room, particularly those of you who are youth and who have family members or teachers or others, understand the problems of bullying. Bullying not only affects those individuals who are faced with bullying, but it adversely affects our community overall. The Washington Lee High School's Best Buddies Club, I think, is another really great example of how another group of individuals that have been disenfranchised in many communities, and some of the individuals in this program also have experienced bullying. So there's also a connection between these two programs. They're not identical. They deal with many issues in the area of diversity, but I think these two programs are critically important. And Sara Heisey, where is Sara? I came a little late. Is she here? Hi, Sara. So I really appreciated reading about the leadership role that you've been playing in fighting for the rights of people in the area of gender and sexual minorities, and as a powerful student advocate and as a leader in the community. And Kip, where is Kip? In the back, I can't see you. Could you stand up? Thank you. So Kip, or John Kip Laramie, who you will hear much more about, as a business owner early on, taking a leadership responsibility to really look at issues affecting people who are homeless, and committing himself to doing work to ensure that homeless people are being given greater opportunities. So for me, I think these 4 award winners, or 4 categories, 2 groups and 2 individuals, very much speak to what I'd like to briefly talk with you about this evening. I, like many people in our communities and around the United States, have experienced marginalization and have experienced discrimination. Again, I think the award in honor of Mr. Hunter, who also dedicated himself to really addressing, from what I have read, the needs of people who in many cases were voiceless or who had limited exposure within the government, to really help to advance the voices and opportunities, and most importantly, to look at addressing issues of discrimination. These, to me, are very important components of helping to really look at the kinds of reforms that communities around the United States and around the world need to be addressing. As one, as I was saying before, who has experienced discrimination. I had polio in 1949. I'm going to be 65 years old next week. So I've experienced both discrimination and the opportunity to be able to organize with other disabled individuals and other minorities, to recognize that we are fortunate to live in a country where we can express our voices and we can fight for change. And changes do not come about as quickly as those of us who are experiencing discrimination would like them to occur. But nonetheless, in my lifetime, and I think in many of your lifetimes, we have in fact seen progress. And the work that's being honored tonight is a part of that progression. The reality is 10, 20 years ago, we would not be seeing people being honored for the work that they're doing on sexual orientation, on rights of LGBT people. That was an issue that really was not being discussed. And over the last 20 years, we've seen another group, individuals from this community, who have really been fighting for their rights. And the communities as a whole, we see more and more people understanding the injustices that people from the LGBT community have experienced. Certainly the voices of people with various forms of disabilities, people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, people with mental health disabilities, other invisible disabilities, and those of us with visible disabilities have seen changes in laws through laws like the Americans with Disabilities Act, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and many of these laws are premised on the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And so for myself, as an individual who started out many, many years ago, not only looking at what barriers we faced, but looking to the civil rights movement, the women's movement, and other movements that were advancing in the 50s and 60s. And we as disabled younger people, and I want to really underscore the fact that much of the advancements in the area of disability really did come from the movement of young people. We were not very experienced. Many of us were just entering in college or just entering the world of work. And we decided a number of things. One, we didn't want to just complain about the problems. We had solutions. Two, we had to fight against a system that at that point in time was very much oriented towards cure of disability. We were not interested in discussing cure of disability. We wanted to discuss rights for those of us with disabilities. We wanted the opportunity to go to school. We wanted the opportunity to work. We wanted the opportunity to vote. We wanted the opportunity to be a part of our society and to, in fact, be seen as equal members of our community. That was not an easy challenge because the reality was, and still is, but to a much lesser degree in the United States, that people look at those of us with disabilities and differences in different ways. But in the area of disability, people very frequently think about us as hopeless individuals. They look at us and say, how could we live our lives like your life? Or you're an exception to the rule, as opposed to recognizing that those of us with disabilities and other categories of people who face discrimination, once given opportunities, make contributions. When we're denied opportunities, the denial of those opportunities also deny our ability to make contributions to our community. Discrimination, as many of you know in this room, is very demoralizing. You have to get up every morning and continue to talk about to yourself and to others about how you are a valued person to yourself. And you have to be able, in my view, to speak to other people who've also had similar experiences. What I like about much of the work that's going on with the groups and individuals that are being awarded is people are recognizing that it is also the responsibility of communities. Communities have to own change. Communities have to be committed to facilitating an understanding of the types of barriers that exist in our communities and how those barriers have been limiting opportunities for people. And limiting opportunities for any group of people who are being discriminated against makes our communities weaker. And now that I'm in this position working in the State Department for Secretary Clinton, I've had the good fortune of being able to travel. So in the last 2.5 years, I think I've traveled to about 20 countries. I had traveled previously, but when I worked at the World Bank, but now in this position, the State Department, many of you may not really know what the State Department is. How many of you ever heard of an embassy? So maybe that's where we start. So the State Department is a U.S. governmental organization. It doesn't do work within the United States. It takes what the United States is doing and tries to help share that information with people around the world. And our embassies, of course, do many things, including getting you visas and other issues that you may know about. But the embassies are really our voices in other countries. The embassies are the face of the United States. And so now that I am working on the issue of inclusion of disabled people in the work of the State Department, that is opening up another opportunity for the U.S. to be able to be seen as a country which is really working towards the inclusion of disabled people. Now, obviously, we are still working on improving what's happening in the United States. So one of the issues that I deal with on a regular basis is our Foreign Service officers are all U.S. citizens. And many of the Foreign Service officers have an understanding of issues that disabled people have faced and continue to face. But the reality is many of them don't necessarily really understand the solutions. So part of my job is to really help people One, understand what human rights violations are against disabled people. And we can look at the United States to look at the kinds of human rights and civil rights violations that we have experienced. And I look at my own life and I talk about my life as an example of the types of barriers that we have faced in the US. So when my mother took me to school when I was 5 years old, the principal said I couldn't go to school because I was in a wheelchair. And they sent a teacher to my house. I didn't go to kindergarten because there wasn't any program that I could go to. And instead of my going to school, they sent a teacher to my house twice a week for a total of 2.5 hours a week. And that was considered to be an appropriate education. And then when I was 9 years old, I finally started to go to school, but I was in a regular school building with special education classes in the basement, and I went to school with other disabled children. Needless to say, the teaching that was going on in that program was pretty minimal. It was a program that had children 5, 6 years old up to 21. Students at that point did not go to high school. After they were 21 years old, they went to something called sheltered workshops. Some of you know about them. Hopefully more and more of you don't know about them because they're being closed down. But sheltered workshops really were a place where people who had disabilities were sent to quote unquote work. In most cases, people were earning below minimum wage, doing menial jobs, and jobs in many cases that were neither valuable nor were people able to do. So we used to joke, I had many friends with disabilities, still do, for someone who had cerebral palsy and difficulty using their hands, being sent to a sheltered workshop to stuff envelopes. Well, clearly, if you have limited use of your hands, stuffing envelopes is not something you're going to be able to do very effectively, which would mean that you couldn't produce the number of stuffed envelopes that non-disabled people could do. So that was the rationale for paying you below minimum wage. So those were some of the issues that we were dealing with. Students, I got into high school because my mother fought. My mother organized with other parents because at that time I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and that's where I started doing my advocacy. Great, I want to meet you after. But we learned early. My parents were immigrants. They were survivors from the Holocaust, and I was the first of 3 children. They didn't know any other disabled people. So like in Arlington and many other states around the United States, we have many immigrants. We have many immigrants who have come from countries where rights are something that they were not granted, disabled or not. People coming to the United States need to learn how to take advantage of the opportunities that exist here, that they have a right to speak out, they have a right to advocate for themselves and for other people. These are big issues. And my mother and others were kind of learning how to do this. There weren't any groups, where parents could go really to learn about this. So my mother was not an advocate before I had polio, but my mother and father recognized they wanted me to have opportunities, and that if they were leaving it up to the system to provide me with opportunities, I too would be in a sheltered workshop. And they didn't support my friends going to sheltered workshops also. So it wasn't that it wasn't for me, but it was okay for someone else. They really understood the broader picture of what was going on. Now, these are very important messages when I travel around the world, when I talk to foreign service officers, when I'm talking to people from governments in different countries, and when I'm talking to disabled people who are in disability-run organizations who are also fighting for their rights. Some of you, I think, may have heard in the last 2 weeks about something called the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. You may have seen it. How many of you heard about it? Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. How many of you really heard about it for the first time in the last 2 weeks? The Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities is really similar to the Americans with Disabilities Act. How many of you ever heard of the Americans with Disabilities Act? Okay, not enough hands, so someone needs to teach you about this. You can go and Google it. It's called the Americans with Disabilities Act. It was a law that was passed in 1990. It's a very important piece of legislation for the rights of disabled individuals. And when I talk about disabled people, I'm not just talking about those of us with visible disabilities. I'm talking about people who have depression, who are bipolar, people with other forms of psychosocial disabilities, people with intellectual disabilities and developmental disabilities, people with learning disabilities and attention deficit disorder, people with diabetes and with epilepsy and cancer, and on and on and on and on. There are many, many different types of disabilities. The Americans with Disabilities Act covers all those people. It makes it illegal to discriminate against a person with a disability based on their disability. The Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities is a United Nations treaty that was adopted in 2006. It is very important for many reasons, but in particular because there are now at least 1 billion people in the world with disabilities. That's according to a World Health Organization and World Bank report. 80% of those individuals live in developing countries, the poorest countries in the world. The World Bank says that 90% of children with disabilities do not receive an education. So when I'm visiting countries in Africa or in Asia, where we have large populations of poverty, and you go in and start talking with people about what their rights should be, what the CRPD is basically enabling them to achieve. There are now 125 countries that have ratified the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. It is really a tragedy that the US Congress did not vote for the CRPD last week. And what I believe some of you who are computer literate should really go home and look at what's happened in the last couple of weeks. Rachel Maddow had a piece on this. Anderson Cooper had a piece Thursday, Friday, and Monday. Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert have had pieces. They've been both op-eds and editorials in the New York Times and the Washington Post. But the tragedy, I think, here is that we had a group of members of the Senate who really, many of them, vilify the United Nations. They really don't see the value that the United Nations plays in the lives of millions and millions of people. And their failure to ratify the or to recommend that the president ratify the CRPD will not stop my advocacy or the advocacy of the State Department in working with governments and civil society organizations in countries to share the work of the United States and to help people learn. And the kinds of things that we are trying to help countries learn does not just benefit disabled people. But in many countries that we work with, the governments really do not want an active and robust, what we call civil society. They don't want strong non-governmental organizations because they see the voices of people in the community as a challenge to government. What we are trying to do is to allow people to see the role of government, which in the case of these awards tonight, at the county level, really shows through the Human Rights Commission, the role of the commission, and the fact that the commission really values people in the community and wants to reward people for the work that they're doing. And that obviously the Human Rights Commission looks at issues around the ADA and EEOC issues, et cetera. We highlight work of counties like Arlington. We work with civil society to help them have a better understanding of how we have thousands of organizations in the United States that I define as having healthy friction in many cases with our government or with our many, many governments. And that this healthy tension is really part of what democracy is all about. And when looking at laws like the Civil Rights Act of 1964, you know, many of us remember that this law did not come about easily or quickly. But what it did really show is the perseverance of people fighting for their rights and how over time government, and equally importantly, and maybe more importantly, how civil society around the United States, the average person in many, many communities, recognized how wrong it was to be discriminating against populations of people living in our communities. So let me just say that I am, as I said earlier, I'm really very happy to be here because of the great work that you're honoring tonight and because of the great work that goes on within Arlington. And that the work that you're doing here at the local level really does need to be work which is also seen more broadly internationally. I don't know, does anybody know who your sister city is? Okay, give me one or two of them.
In the Ukraine, we have France in France, we have Aachen in Germany, and we have a developing one in Brazil.
Okay. Brasilia? Bolivia. So I don't know in the work that you're doing with sister cities whether you're highlighting your work on disability or on diversity, but I encourage you to do that. When I'm traveling and working with our embassies and others, I discuss issues like sister cities. So let me give you an example. I was in Jordan, and I had a meeting with the mayor of Jordan, and his city council where his office was, had 3 steps to get into it. He was an architect, and at the end of the meeting, I showed him the steps, and he said he would get them ramped, and his head designer said it would happen in 1 year, and he said it would happen in 2 weeks, and it actually happened in 10 days, which was a great example of how to make change. But what we also then worked on was, one of their sister cities was Chicago. Chicago has a great mayor's office on disability. And so we were linking up the mayor's office on disability in Amman with the mayor's office on disability in Chicago. We had a video conference where they were able to speak to each other, and we were looking at doing exchanges between the 2 different offices. Unfortunately, the king removed him from office, and so we are still working on moving that forward. But it was a real example of what can happen, and I could give you many, many other examples of work that we're doing. But I cannot do my job without being able to highlight work like is going on in Arlington. So please keep up the fantastic work that you're doing, and equally importantly, look at opportunities as you're doing work with sister cities and as the government in Arlington or Maryland is also going overseas looking for opportunities to generate business and tourism, et cetera, with other countries. One of the things that is really important is that we advertise the accessibility of our communities, because many people in many other countries, including in countries in Europe and others, do not have the same advantages that we have. We also need to highlight the fact that it is very important to have good laws, strong laws, laws that are not just written by government, but where government communicates and works with people in the community to have a better understanding of what types of discrimination and barriers people experience, and that it's not just good laws, it's good rules, and it's not just good laws and good rules, it's also governmental agencies that have within the legislation the responsibility to monitor and enforce. And it is also important that we can demonstrate that our laws and our rules and our governmental agencies take these opportunities seriously, and that government needs to be able to demonstrate, as we recently did at a UN meeting where we brought a senior attorney from the U.S. Department of Justice and the Equal Employment Opportunities Commission and a leader in the disability rights movement nationally to talk about laws in the area of disability, how they've been written, how they're being implemented, benefits that we can tangibly discuss, and how civil society works with government. Those kinds of real hardcore examples, we know we're not perfect, we discuss that we're not perfect, that we have much further to go, but we should feel very proud of the work that we have been doing and that we never give up. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Wasn't that helpful? informative. Again, Judy, thank you so very much for that. We have two of our commissioners that will be presenting all four of the awards tonight. They have their assignments. I will see you after they finish their work. Roland.
I love this. I'd like to ask John Kip Laramie to step forward. Now, why don't you step right there? Stand right there. I have the honor this evening to present the award to Kip Laramie. Kip's efforts in Roslyn stated simply is that as a business person, he spread the word around his restaurant, the Santa Fe, by sponsoring Little League teams and allowing students to, student art to pretty much decorate his walls. He brought ads and programs for art organizations and donated food to homeless programs. He noticed people in the shadows in Roslyn who were hungry. And though he claims it was a small amount of food that he gave to them, I have a feeling he gave them a lot of food. But he didn't stop there because he wanted to do more than just provide food. He sought and was successful in helping to provide other services to those in need. Now, in order to do this, Kip served as chair of the Homeless Services Committee of the Roslyn, what is called BID, B-I-D, and that is the Business Improvement District there in Roslyn. And he was its chair for the last several years. Now, the purpose of this committee was to meet the needs of the diverse and growing urban district there that we call Roslyn. And he led this committee to work with Roslyn businesses to host clothing drives, to do a Light Up Roslyn holiday celebration, to ensure the safety of individuals who were receiving food from A-SPAN, which is a nightly meal program there. And he worked, in addition to that, to increase services for homeless in Roslyn, again, through funding of some of the A-SPAN social workers. He's created support for the operations of the emergency winter shelter there in Courthouse, and he's led the BID's support of the proposed year-round homeless shelter center, which is close to becoming a reality. Now, he's also had a voice in Roslyn, which has enabled A-SPAN and other nonprofit groups to have their voices heard by more people. And this is through an organization called Bravo, and it's not the Bravo that does the Wives of Atlanta and the Wives of New York and the Wives of New Jersey, but this Bravo is the Buyers and Renters Arlington Voice, which is a nonprofit group that's working to preserve and create affordable housing in Arlington. And it's another organization for which Kip has held fundraisers and he served as an advocacy for. He has for years been involved with the Taste of Arlington events, which raise money and awareness for the Arlington Housing Corporation and community residences. But, you know, he didn't just stop there with the homeless, because he also got involved in the youth of Arlington. And in this involvement, he served as a member of a group called Partnership for a Healthier Arlington. And in this capacity, he helped put together a program to help youth who were caught with drugs or alcohol. This program was called Second Chance. And the program helped first-time offenders to avoid suspension and the juvenile justice system. And instead, it offered counseling and better information on the effects of drugs and alcohol. But he didn't stop there with the kids. He also has a certain corporate responsibility. Now, he's a businessman, which means that he worked in Arlington, and for years he had a restaurant called the Santa Fe, which I understand closed this past October after about 24 years. And this business, no one left the business. All of his employees stayed there for years. And that's because he's the type of employer who, again, is a friend and a mentor to his employees. And he was a kind boss, and he encouraged several of his employees to become U.S. citizens and pretty much helped them through the process. Now, to his customers, he offered the food that they wanted, and even went so far as to actually have some ingredients shipped in from New Mexico, because again, this is a restaurant that specializes in New Mexican food, for events such as the Health Chili Festival. His customers were so impressed with the restaurant that a United States flag that flew over the embassy in Kabul, Afghanistan on July 4th, 2005, was presented to Kip by several grateful State Department employees who shared that memories of lunch at the Santa Fe Cafe helped them through some difficult moments while serving in Afghanistan. A couple of years ago, Kip gave a commencement speech, and he gave this commencement speech to the Art Institute of Washington. And the theme of the speech was doing well by doing good. And while sharing his memories of becoming a business owner, he told the graduates that a mentor whose most important lesson was that your profession can be more than a way to earn a living. You can help people live better lives. Now, in support of his nomination, there was a letter of recommendation from ACE-BAN, and I was so impressed with it, I just wanted to read to you one portion of the letter from ACE-BAN. And the executive director was the person who submitted the letter. And she said, through Kip's leadership of the Homeless Services Committee of the Roslyn Business Improvement District, funding has been allocated from the BID's members to provide an outreach worker in Roslyn to serve homeless people in Roslyn. For those who are homeless in Roslyn, they now have greater access to emergency services such as food, showers, clean clothing, but most important, are linked with resources to become housed. Kip's commitment to the homeless is making a significant impact on homelessness in Roslyn and Arlington. Because of the committee's advocacy, people are less likely to call police or report problems involving homeless people. Rather, more people know who to contact, and that is ACE-BAN, or to alert the committee when there are people who are in need of our services. And as a tribute to the work that he has done as the owner of the Santa Fe Cafe, when word was put out that he was going to close the cafe, he received a letter. And the letter said, "It is an honor and a privilege to congratulate you upon your retirement after 24 years of bringing a little bit of New Mexico to Northern Virginia. New Mexicans living in and around the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area have been fortunate to have a place where they can enjoy excellent green chili recipes. It takes an immense amount of creativity and innovation to run a successful restaurant for 24 years. You have much to be proud of. With deep and sincere appreciation, we thank you for providing a little taste of home to your fellow New Mexicans, and we wish you well in whatever path you choose to follow in your stage of life. This letter is signed, personally signed, by the 2 U.S. Senators from the state of New Mexico and also by the congressional delegation from the state of New Mexico as well. Now, can I get the award? Thank you. The award reads, to John Kip Laramie, 2012, the James B. Hunter Human Rights Award, exemplary commitment to promoting human rights and diversity in Arlington County. And it is an honor and a privilege to present the James B. Hunter Individual Award to John Kip Laramie. We're going to get the opportunity to make a couple of remarks.
I had warning that I was going to get this, so I was able to prepare some remarks, unfortunately for you. Madam County Manager, Madam Chairwoman of the County Board, Arlington County officials, and all the lovely friends and loved ones that are here, thank you so much. I am so honored. If I can mangle an oft-mangled quote by the late Senator Lloyd Benson, I knew Jim Hunter. I was a friend of Jim Hunter's. Kip Laramie is no Jim Hunter. However, I could not be more honored than to have an award named by Jim Hunter. Jim and Patty Hunter were regulars at the Santa Fe right after I opened my business back in 1988, and they ate there pretty much every Friday night for many years. He started talking to me about getting involved in Arlington County and appointed me to the Visitors Commission, which was a 2-year learning experience for me. It helped me to get my feet on the ground in a corporate setting. He also encouraged me to get involved in Taste of Arlington, which was started up back probably 92 or so, and I was their first restaurant chair committee person, thanks to Jim Hunter. Over the years, I've been fortunate to be affiliated with wonderful groups. Cecilia Cassidy, who is here, has got me involved in the Roslyn Renaissance, which later became the Roslyn Business Improvement District. And it was through her encouragement, along with Laura Rinker, the founder of ASPAN, that I started to get involved with ASPAN. And Laura, also a regular at the Restaurant Surprise, talked to me frequently about, the problems of homelessness in the community, and we decided we really needed a homeless center, unbeknownst to me that there were so many other people on the same page, and thanks to the chairwoman and the county manager for their efforts in making this what looks to become a reality. I also got involved with Healthier Arlington, thanks to Mr. Richard Cole, who was head of the health department at the time. It was a 2-year study that they were doing. It was kind of like Gilligan's Island. I thought it was going to be a 3-hour tour. And here we are 6 years later, and I'm now co-chair of the whole thing. And it's been wonderful, the things that we've been able to accomplish, but as a team, not with one person. ASPAN is an incredible team. They've put together a wonderful body of work through their efforts, and they continue to do tremendous work in the community, and it's only going to be growing and getting that much better. I've had wonderful teachers, Diane Downing, who is here, Jean Matthews, Naomi Klaus, Dr. Ruben Verghese, Lynn Haynes, Cecilia, some great people. John Healy, who is here, has been a tremendous guide for me in continuing my work. They all helped to teach me how to work in a business community and environment, and how to chair a committee was something which I had never done. I have always tried to keep the philosophy of doing well by doing good. With the ethic of my mom, my sister Joy, who is here, my sister Maria, and my brother Joe, who are not here. And I thank them so much for helping to get me to where I am. I especially have to thank the staff of Santa Fe Cafe, who through their hard work, it's easy to say yes. You know, somebody comes in and says, oh, will you donate this, or will you host this? It's easy to say yes, because I don't have to do the work. It's the people that are on the ground with their feet, whether it be the ACE band volunteers, the people in Roslyn who are out there doing the work, the people such as Victor, who heads the ambassador program down there. It really is a team effort, and I had an incredible team in the staff at Santa Fe Cafe behind me. So I thank all of you for helping with that. And I especially have to thank my lovely wife, Peg, for all of her encouragement. Times I didn't think that I might be up to the task of doing some of these things. She kind of pushed me forward and gave me words of wisdom, helped me to formulate my thoughts. And she's just been an incredible source of knowledge, professionalism, and love. And I thank you so much. I would never have gotten involved unless I had had a personal invitation from Jim Hunter to get involved. And that's all it took. It kind of triggered something in me. I think none of us should be afraid to ask somebody else for help, particularly when it's for a third party and doing the common good that we all share. I think that's why we're here. I think people just need to be asked and explained what's needed and why, and they're glad to participate. Some people call it the Arlington way. I see the other recipients that are going to be receiving this wonderful award here tonight, especially the younger groups that are here. Looking around and seeing them, I feel pretty confident in the secure future of Arlington County, and I thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your kind remarks.
Good evening. I'm James Fisher, and I've been on the Human Rights Commission, it seems like forever, but I think it's about 15 years. Jim Hunter was a friend of mine, too, was a beloved friend of mine. The James B. Hunter Awards traditionally have been awarded to honor those Arlingtonians like Kip Laramie who have achieved a long record of human rights advocacy. Over the past decade, we have honored, decade and a half actually, we've honored real heroes for human rights in our community who have set an example for all of us. And almost always, these are people who have been around a while, almost always they say, just like Kip did, I knew Jim Hunter. If you were doing anything in Arlington that was of importance, Jim Hunter found you, and as Kip said, he introduce you to somebody else, and ask you to do something more. However, the Human Rights Commission is increasingly seeing moving examples of human rights leadership among young people who did not know Jim Hunter, but might someday replace him. With a wave of social media and the power of the internet that fuels connection and communication among today's youth, they have become more aware of a wider variety of human rights issues than people before them, and they are willing to take action in creative ways that reflect the way they communicate today. Acknowledging the growing influence of young people in addressing human rights issues, this year, the Human Rights Commission made a special effort to encourage the nomination of young pioneers who have become examples among their peers. The young woman and the two organizations that are being honored this year represent the Commission's hope that through their leadership today and tomorrow, the future holds even greater promise for equal treatment for all. The first of these young honorees is Sara Heisey, who as a senior last year at Wakefield High School showed leadership in expanding the work and the reach of the Wakefield Gay Straight Alliance group beyond the school's walls to young people elsewhere in Arlington and in the Metro DC area. and for helping to build a virtual community for safe discussion of issues around sexual orientation and gender. As a leader of Wakefield's GSA, she reached to Washington Lee High School's GSA and brought the groups together to plan events, leading to the development of multiple Facebook pages for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and supportive students across Arlington and the metro area. These pages on Facebook offered a safe place to plan events, exchange ideas, express feelings, find friends, and show support. The groups organized to march in Washington's Martin Luther King Day parade, held a dance, among a variety of other activities through the year that brought them together. Continuing her own leadership, Sara appeared on an anti-gay bullying panel sponsored by the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network to talk about the impact of bullying in schools and the pain that it causes. As a senior project, she also created a separate social networking website for young people to share their views and concerns and get informational resources on sexual and gender identity issues. Her work, she said, was not without some risk. She recalled feeling concerned about the reaction of fellow students, particularly when posting things publicly at high school. The benefit, though, was the resulting connection between young people who found a safe and supportive outlet in events, at meetings, online, to share their feelings and concern and feel the caring of others at a time when they may have been feeling very alone. She took the risk, she did the work, and was a human rights leader, she said, because it's for the people who aren't brave enough yet. We thought if a few people could get together, we could change people's minds. Jim Hunter himself was a strong and wonderful advocate for the gay and lesbian community in Arlington, and he did it for the very same reasons. And so I am so pleased tonight to present the Human Rights Award in his name to Sara Heisey. Please come forward.
First of all, I'd like to say how deeply honored I am to be receiving this award, and most of all, how amazing I feel it is to be recognized for advocacy for people of gender and sexual minorities. This really wouldn't have been possible 20 years ago, as you said, and looked down upon a mere 10. So I'd really like to thank the Commission for that alone. I'd also really like to thank Washington Lee's GSA, as well as the other GSAs in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, who really came together last year, I think, more than ever before. And without them, we wouldn't have been able to do so many amazing things. I'd also like to thank the Northern Virginia chapter of the Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network, as well as David Aponte, for all their help as well in coordinating these events and for really kicking off all these different Facebook pages and really putting everything out there on the internet accessible for young people like myself. I'd also like to thank Clarendon Presbyterian Church for all their help with events, as well as my friend Martin Letterly Ensign for nominating me for this award. Hi, Martin. And for my GSA sponsor, Mr. Clisham, my senior project coordinator, Ms. Labella, and my family for being completely supportive the whole way through, and for really being there for me when I needed to bounce ideas off of them, or just when I was pulling my hair out at how stressful some things were. I really look forward to continuing the development of my online support network, as well as working with the GSA at University of Mary Washington, which I will be attending next fall. And last year really was only the beginning of this work for me, and I'm really excited to see where I'll go from here. So thank you.
The Washington Lee chapter of Best Buddies was founded in September of 2010 to bridge the social gap between students with and without intellectual and developmental disabilities. This student-driven organization was designed to raise awareness and educate the entire student body on inclusion, respect, and acceptance for all individuals. WNL's Best Buddy has been in existence for just 2 years, building a strong program that aligns with the diverse culture of the school. Through promotion of genuine friendships and acceptance of unique differences, Best Buddy's influence and presence is evident at WNL. It is through great leadership, genuine participation, and the priority of the students that WL's Best Buddies continues to thrive and evolve. The students plan several events throughout the school year that foster acceptance, friendship, and fun. From the annual Harvest Festival to the end of the school year cookout, events offer a safe place for everyone to enjoy the benefits of being a high school student. While there are Best Buddies chapters in 1,500 schools across the world, including several other APS schools, what the students at WNL have accomplished is considered remarkable. In just 2 short years, Best Buddies has transformed the WNL community. The chapter's success has exceeded expectations, and it has been recognized as one of the top chapters in the world by Best Buddies International. Beyond the inclusion and friendships that have been developed among its members, the Best Buddies WNL chapter has actively promoted the mission to ensure that students of all abilities are welcomed and celebrated. In addition to participation in the Spread the Word to End the Word campaign, an international movement to encourage people to pledge to stop using the word retard, the chapter has partnered with sports teams and other clubs to promote inclusion and acceptance. Other activities that WNL's Best Buddies chapter hosts include Buddy Match Parties, an after-school activity that introduces the buddies and peer buddies to each other and kicks off the first chapter event of each year. They host an annual Life Skills Spring Dance. All buddies and peer buddies are invited to attend. There are monthly chapter meetings, chapter seasonal events where members can enjoy themed parties, and there's an annual potluck dinner in which members are invited along with their families as a meet and greet and introduction of the organization and its purpose at WNL. These are the young people who are having impact today, and these are the leaders who will follow, as I said earlier, in Jim Hunter's steps tomorrow. I am proud to present to Brittany Miro as the president of the group, the Jim Hunter Award. Please come forward.
Sorry, I'm short. Thank you so much for this award. It really means a lot to me and the club. When Best Buddies first started about 3 years ago, it was probably one of the smallest clubs in our school, and no one really knew about it. But, you know, now it's probably one of the biggest clubs at our school, as you can tell from everyone wearing the sweaters. And, you know, that really, you know, means a lot because it's spread throughout our whole entire school, and now everyone really knows about Best Buddies, which is awesome. And I would just like to thank you for nominating us for this award. And this is actually Turner, our buddy director, and he would like to say a few words.
Well, the club means so much to me because I love it, and I meet new friends and new people and new events.
What do you do?
I'm the buddy director, so I call people and email them and tell them what time.
You help out with the club, yeah.
How about with the club?
Okay, so my name is David Shirzad. I'm the treasurer of the club. My best buddy, Kevin, is right there. Kevin, can you? We're in the matching colored sweaters. We have matching colored sweaters, everyone. Actually, obviously everyone knows that there's a lot of us here, but I just wanted everyone who's involved in Best Buddies to stand up in the room and just show how many we have here.
That's not even the whole club.
And that's not even the whole club.
That's not even everybody.
Come on, Kevin.
Guys, come on, Keisha, everyone. Oh my God. Should we do
Come on,
the
bud.
cheer?
Kevin,
Yes.
I'll do a few short thank yous first. Short thank yous. Okay, everyone. So I just want to thank a few quick people. First of all, the staff of Best Buddies Virginia, our director, Allison. She's so amazing. She helps us out so much. Sam and Sarah over there. Also, our president, Mr. Robertson. He's not here at the moment, but our principal. Our principal, Dr. Robertson, he's
nice.
Yeah, he's awesome. He nominated us for the award. I'm not sure where he is at the moment, but he couldn't make it. He's at a conference. Also, Miss Mizell and Miss Emily, they help run the chapter, and they do so much for us. It's absolutely amazing. Obviously, all our family and all our friends, because we're all one big family here. We're all one big Best Buddies family.
Say something.
The club would also like to show all of you our Best Buddies cheer. So if you would like to join, everyone stand up. We'll show you how to do it. Come on, everyone, get up. Let's go. Okay, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Best Buddies, best Buddies, best Buddies, best Buddies, best Buddies, Okay, we're good, Kevin. Ready?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Ready to head back?
Yep. No, it's okay. It was okay. But I knew at the finish.
Wakefield and Project Upstanders. Who's here for Project Upstanders? Come on up. Come on up. Great, excellent. I personally am very pleased to present this award because as a person, I was a person who was bullied when I was in elementary school and I was in junior high school. So I really, really love this particular group. The Wakefield Project Upstanders is a community group that promotes the idea of respect, dignity, and human rights among students, faculties, and parents. The student leaders use skills to learn positive, pro-social actions in order to combat bullying, harassing, stereotypical and prejudicial behaviors among their peers and in their own spheres of influence. The goal is to help more individuals move from bystanders to upstanders. That is, those who take a stand against discrimination in any form. These upstanders meet in small groups at least about twice a month, and they developed activities and projects to raise awareness and to promote acceptance. In other words, it is not cool to be mean at Wakefield. Now, this past year, is the year 2011 to 2012, they did a host of activities and to promote this particular goal. They did bullying presentations to all 9th grade students. They did a school survey to identify how safe students felt at Wakefield and to map areas in the school where they can see or have heard that there was harassing behavior may occur. These maps they placed in the school and in related information to the appropriate administrators to increase adult presence in these so-called hotspots. And they even did student-made videos about acceptance, which was presented at many forums throughout the county, that is, schools as well. They did a classroom intervention. And they did many awareness activities, such as a Valentine Upstander pledge and handprint posters. During the present year, 2012 to 2013, they've already had a week of action dedicated to promoting awareness of upstander ideas. Their activities are varied, and they include sidewalk art and a day of public service announcements each period with teacher-led discussions. They've trained over 125 students, and they have more than 70 upstanders who are active. And some of these upstanders are in college, so they are going into college and promoting this particular mission. Now, Project Upstanders is more than an anti-bullying campaign. It's a campaign to ensure that diversity, whether diversity be race, color, sexual orientation, identity, religion, the list is a long list, is valued and is appreciated. It is an honor to present this community award, which reads Wakefield Project Upstanders, 2012, James B. Hunter Human Rights Award, exemplary commitment to promoting human rights and diversity in Arlington County. And I present it to the Wakefield Project Upstanders.
Good evening. My name is Dominique Lopez-Piper, and I was trained with Upstanders last year and was able to help out with the training of new Upstanders this school year. When Mr. Reed first told me about Upstanders, Mr. Reed, my counselor, I was so excited to become a part of a group that would proactively address the so important topic of bullying. The highly interactive day-long training to be an upstander in and of itself was an eye-opening experience that allowed us all to realize just how much of an impact we had on our peers through social media, our body language, and the interactions we made in person. We recognized that Upstanders was a medium through which we could use our influence to make a difference in the lives of our classmates by taking action to show our genuine concern for each other's well-being. Since most students seem to tune out whenever presentations included the frequently heard subject of bullying, our goal was to create a very concise mission statement that would introduce us as a group, hoping to bring about positive change, instead of one that was established to monitor students and reprimand them. I suggested using the simple phrase, intend kindness. Whenever a student found themselves questioning how to react to a situation in which they observed bullying, as long as their decision on how to respond was built with the intention of kindness in mind, they would truly embody an upstander. Upstanders advocate for working and growing together through mistakes and triumphs for the good of all people. Therefore, receiving this award is such a tremendous honor for Wakefield High School. Thank you very much.
We'd like to personally thank Dr. Murphy and our principal, Dr. Wilmore, who had the courage to go forward with this early on in the very early planning stages. Upstanders are individuals who have moved from being bystanders. We know 80% of the individuals who view harassment and bullying are bystanders. And we set out to move people from being bystanders to being upstanders. Sara Heisey, one of the original upstanders in the first training, very instrumental in getting our program moving. And it's good to see that she's gone on and continues to work hard for those who can't speak for themselves. We'd like to thank you all for having us here this evening, and we would encourage everyone here, especially everyone in Arlington, move from being a bystander to be an upstander. Our upstanders don't go out and seek out bullies. They're upstanders within their own peer groups. So when their friends are on social media or they tweet something that's inappropriate, they come right back with a response to speak up for those that can't speak for themselves. And again, we'd just like to thank you for having us here this evening.
What a glorious evening. Thank you so much for what you've done. Thank you for teaching us that there's still more to learn, but so much more to do. And I'm going to join in that pledge. I'll have to learn that cheer, though. I didn't quite get all the moves. But nonetheless, I'm going to do that. I would like to ask the members of the Arlington Human Rights Commission to please stand. Thank you for your work. Like so many other things in life, those other 2 4-letter words, life and work, they come into play, and everyone could not be here, but believe me, they work very hard to make sure that that which we need in our community, that which helps us to do those things that will make it better for everybody, we're able to do. We truly thank our chair, Mary Hines, for being here. We thank our county manager. I know I saw her earlier. I don't know if she's still here. I didn't get to see all of the other Arlington officials and officers and so on and so forth, but a very special thank you to our Executive Director, Raul Torres. And as Kip shared, he doesn't do it alone. I would like all the members of Raul's staff to please stand. Again, we thank you so much for what you do in helping us to do what we all need to get done. Now, I have one final thing I need to say. I understand we have some food left, so would you all please go out there and make sure you help clean that up? I tell you good night, thank you, and we will see you next year.